What's up, guys? I'm at the Aquascape Academy in St. Charles, Illinois. Look at this. Inside of this academy, we're learning how to either install ponds or pondless water features as a business, or add it as a new service to our existing lawn and landscaping businesses. And come along, I'm going to show you a tour of what this is about, and I'm documenting the process of going from a guy who knows nothing about water features, and that might be you as well, to learning how to actually install a basic water feature, and then so you guys can implement this into your business. And here's the really cool part: in all of landscape design, build, and maintenance, this is the highest profit margin thing that you can do. All right, so the founder of Aquascape is Greg Wittstock. They're putting the foam in.
And then a little bit heavier where it is, fill up the void space. So I don't need to fill all the way up to here. I just need to put it down, and then we'll put some gravel on top of that, and then it will just flow. So we're keeping the water flowing over. And the nice thing about expandable foam is you can, if you don't like it, if you don't like the way the water flows, you can just rip it apart and refoam it. So you have to think like water. So I know water's going to go back here right now. So I'll just fill in that little area right there, and now it'll keep all the water diverted down there. So now this is pretty much a waterproof thing. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes to dry. We'll cover it with gravel, and then the water will just flow right out the top. And then down here, Ed, you want to show them what you're doing down here where we're not in the biofalls? You can see this. If we wouldn't put gravel in here or foam in here, then all the water would go down there instead of over. So what we're going to do.
So before we get into actually building a pond and how to do it, and maybe you want to do this inside of your business, pondless water features start out at about $3,500. So with a 50% profit margin. So before we talk about that, I got to show you the inside of Aquascape. This place is insane. This is insane. I love it. So this Greg Wittstock guy, this is the vision in his head, and he's helped a ton of landscapers become successful by teaching them how to become certified aquascape contractors. But there are guys who are in the pond business full time. Like how I met Greg was through my friend Jeff Michaels in Michigan, who has a pond company called Pondering Waters. And then we also, then Greg invited me out to Logan Paul's house for his pond build, and that's where I was introduced to all this.
2 million subscribers, bro. Subscribe to this guy's channel. Let's go.
When he said on his channel that he wanted the pond, my phone blew up. I called out to him, and I was able to get out here a month later and do this with all these guys.
Now, you might not want to do something like this, at least learning about it, which I'm finding out today at the academy. This is blowing my mind. I never even thought of this as a possibility for me. Like, this is mind-blowing. You might not even have ever considered this to be a possibility in your business. So in my business, we do a lot of landscape maintenance. Sometimes it can get frustrating because you can only get the prices so high because you're doing a commoditized maintenance type of thing. And the difference with something like this is that it's artistic, right? It's something that the customer can have in their backyard for years and years and years. And then it's a conversation piece. They can brag about it to their friends and to their family. It's something beautiful, right? So there's an artistic margin in there. There's totally different profit margin because you're selling art. It seems very intimidating, but what I'm learning here today at the event is that you don't have to start out with something intimidating like this. You can actually start out very small. Look at these beautiful koi fish.
not take more than an hour to dig this in, okay? Make sense to everybody? And if you're calling BS on me, fly me out and I will show you, I promise. That'd be kind of cool, field trips.
So what's interesting to me is that he's saying that you can do this out of the back of your pickup truck. You don't need any big equipment because you're not dealing big stuff or big boulders or anything. This is sweet, dude. Like I'm like my wheels are spinning. I was on the phone with Blake Albertson, B&B Lawn Care, last night. And cause he came here last year. He's like, dude, I'm telling you, you'll get sucked in. Like as soon as, like when you're there, by the time you leave, you're gonna be absolutely convinced that you're gonna start doing this. And I can totally see why. This is insane. There's a grotto behind this.
Out with. Okay, so we used to only run a 5-person crew. Okay, so it was Ed, it was Brian, and then 3 guys, 3 other teammates that are out there, laborers that were out there. One pond, $4,200. Well, I don't really want to spend that much, so what if we do like a 4x6 pond? How much would that cost? $4,200. So we had a minimum back in the day.
Show me how to build a better pond in this way, in a faster, more efficient time, and train your crew, because here's the deal. When you get out of the field, that guy's got to build that pond. And if you're not the one sitting there holding that thing, how do you train the guy to do it? Oh, sometimes they do it this way, sometimes they do it this way. No, you do it this way. It's the McDonald's way. If you walk into a McDonald's and you say, I want a salmon sandwich, they will say what to you? Everywhere I go, I can literally go there and I can clean up, because I see ponds done wrong. I want to see ponds done right. So Marco Island, Florida, one of the richest places, you know, in the hemisphere, and there's crappy ponds everywhere in front of $1 million homes. You know, it's cemented together, little leaky pumps, and that's a pond that hurts the marketplace. If I got a certified guy building a pond for $10,000 and not $8,000 or $5,000, and not out of concrete, out of liner with foam, that's good for the marketplace, because I know that that consumer's going to have a good experience, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So when you say to me or to the group that one of the reasons that it sold you to come to this academy is because you see 3 guys that are certified guys all knowing what each other's prices are in a certain marketplace, that means it's working. Because those guys, now, by the way, you know what they're selling on then? They sell themselves. You're always selling yourself. I'm going to go with the guy. Might be more expensive, but I'm going to go with the guy that I get along with. It's a blind date.
He's coming out. He's one of the guys who's coming out this year.
All right, let's see the progress. Wow. Sweet.
That's one of my favourite places to go there. Okay. Yeah, I would recommend that a lot. Don't use London Eye though. That's a tourist trap.
Well, and I think
Greg, what is this thing you're stepping out of right now?
That's the biofalls.
Biofalls?
So this is a biofalls.
Yeah.
Originally, I made them out of cattle troughs. So, you know, the 80-gallon like Rubbermaid cattle troughs.
Yeah.
And this is probably like 10 generations later. This is one of our first patents that I got when I was 24 years old. I got the patent on this thing. I made it out of garbage cans, and garbage cans was the skimmer, and cattle troughs were the biofalls. So this is your biological filter. So the water flows up through here, goes through the filter pads, goes through bioballs or lava rock. The bacteria grows on that, and just like in an aquarium, it just recirculates, and this is what keeps the water clean.
Say what you're saying.
So, speaking of the artistic element of this, you can see by looking at this waterfall that you get directional lateral motion with the water. So it falls off this, everything's blocked off over here, so it's forced to pull up and then fall that way. So it's falling here, falling that way, falling that direction, down into there, and everything's just dug out to achieve that. So instead of digging a long, straight trough,
Yeah.
instead of just digging a long, straight trough with levels going up the trough and then throwing rocks in, so you have like basically a cattle trough just with water flowing down over it, we dig half circles and then the rock just kind of dictates, this works out, we're going to set this rock this way. And then the next one we'll set this way, so it like creates that serpentine lateral motion, which is the artistic thing that makes it look like nature. When the water's not just going down through a straight trough. The other thing you don't want to do is an excavation. People naturally think you have to dig at a slight uphill slant so that the water can run downhill, which is, we all do it when we first build a pond. But you actually want to dig level or even slightly back, so that, and then pick a rock. So let's say that right here you can see the liner. This here's the liner, that's the level. This rock needs to be at least 2 inches higher than that liner so that you actually have standing still water in here.
Oh, so it fills up.
Yeah, you don't have water running down at a 5-degree angle over gravel, which looks really artificial. If it falls, fills up, falls, fills up, it looks a lot more natural.
So it's naturally falling down each progressive step.
Yep.
Cascading down. Beautiful. I love the way you're talking and explaining it too, because it's like I'm totally into everything that he's saying, because it's conceptual and tactical at the same time.
It is. And after you do it 100 times, you start to predict. You start to learn the language of water, what the water's going to do. You know, I can already tell you pretty much exactly what this water's going to do. I mean, if you get this angle down here, I'll show you. So if you stand down there,
this dude's totally in his element right now.
this is what I do.
So yeah, it was 194, 196, something back then. It was in 2006, and I went out there to talk to Chris about how he sold so much, and I said, how does a multi-million-dollar full-service landscape design build firm sell so much water features? Well, we're kind of known in the area, and we get calls for it. I said, what percentage of the people call you for water features? He says, probably 10%. By the way, that's a high number for a landscape design build firm, 10%. Okay? I said, what percentage of the people get a water feature? You know what he told me? 81%. That is called sales. 10% ask, 81% of the people get. Would you like me to tell you what he told me about his sales process? And then I want you, yes or no? Yes. And then I want you to tell me if you think this sales process will work in your area in 2019 the way it worked in San Francisco in 2006. He says, well, here's my process, Craig. Before I go to their house, I send them a DVD. This is pre the internet. Now you send out a link. And when I get there, I ask them one of two questions. I said, did you watch the DVD? And they give me one or two answers.
Yes or no.
If they say yes, I go one way. If they say no, I say, well, let's watch it right now. It's a 10-minute DVD, Create a Paradise videos, 8-minute video. Okay, we watch the video. They say, yeah, well, we're not really think we're interested in the water feature. And he says, well, why do you think that way? Oh, we don't want the work. He goes, well, so he walks with them in the backyard. He said this would be the perfect area for a pond. Well, we don't want a pond because we don't want the maintenance of a pond, or we don't want to spend the money on a pond or whatever. He goes, no problem. This would be the perfect area for a pondless. Oh, we don't want it. So sometimes they buy the pond. Sometimes they buy the pondless. And the third thing he goes is, well, if you don't want to spend the money, blah, 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 you can do a fountainscape. And 10% of the people get, and between the pond, the pondless, and the fountainscape, how many get? 81%. That's called sales. But there's a third key ingredient that Chris told me about afterwards. He said, but the third thing is, you guys know what an X-Acto knife is? He says, I take out my X-Acto knife and I slit both of my wrists. And I bleed passion all over them. And I tell them, this is going to be the most enjoyable thing we do in your landscape. Everybody that comes to your house is going to notice this water feature first. You're going to spend countless hours here feeding your fish. You're going to spend countless hours here in your pondless watching your birds come down. You're going to listen to that waterfall from inside your house or that fountainscape, and it's going to make all your stresses go away. You're going to love this water feature. Bleeding passion all over them, and 8 times out of 10, they buy, and that's how he became our #1 customer in 2006. Complicated? Rocket science? If you follow a process, if you have a system, if you have a methodology, if you have an approach, and you send out a link to the videos, you have a water feature for them to see at your house, you talk about what kind of birds get attracted to your house, you show the projects that you do, you give them an option of a full F-150, decked out, you go back down to the, all the way down to the rolled out windows, $3,500 to $20,000, whatever. You are going to sell your customers, and then 1 pond becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and all of a sudden you do 104 water features. Might take you 3 years, but then all of a sudden, 28 years later, you can do 500 pond cleanouts and have $1 million maintenance business like Aquascape does, with guys that are pretty easy to train to do pond maintenance. Pond maintenance is not hard to train as construction is. Fountainscapes is not hard to train at all.
Alright guys, so that's the end of this vlog, or the end of day 1. Check the links in the description below to see the second video about my experience at Aquascape, building ponds and water features, and it's a whole awesome thing, right? So, alright, day 2 is going to be something really special, so I'll see you there.